Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a really chilling chapter in Australian history. We're diving into the backpacker murders committed by Ivan Milat in New South Wales, specifically in the Belanglo State Forest between about 1989 and 1993.
It's a case that still resonates deeply, I think.
Absolutely. So our mission today, using the source materials we've gathered, is to really trace how this whole thing unfolded. How did a series of seemingly separate missing persons cases turn into this massive hunt for a serial killer?
And you've got to understand the backdrop, the time period. The sources really make it clear this was, well, kind of the end of an era for travel in Australia. Before the early 90s, hitchhiking, especially along the big routes like the Hume Highway, it was seen as, adventurous, cheap, almost a rite of passage for young travelers, especially international ones.
Right, like a standard backpacker thing to do.
Exactly. Although, we should mention, it wasn't entirely without worry even before Milat. There were earlier cases. Trudy Adams in 78, Naoko Onda in 87. Those incidents had already made some travelers a bit more cautious, maybe starting to travel in pairs, that sort of thing.
But nothing on this scale.
No, nothing prepared anyone for what was uncovered in Belanglo.
Yeah, the sheer number is just staggering when you think about it. 7 young people, their ages just 19 to 22. And the mix of victims, 5 international backpackers, 3 Germans, 2 Brits, and 2 young Australians as well.
And the fact their disappearances were spread out over 4 years, from 89 to 92, that's what made it so difficult for investigators at first. It wasn't an obvious cluster.
Okay, so let's walk through that timeline. Who went missing first?
The first ones were Deborah Everest and James Gibson, both Australians, both just 19. They vanished after leaving Sydney, heading to a festival back in December 1989.
Okay, December 89.
Then a gap. January 1991, Simone Schmidl, a 21-year-old German backpacker, she disappears. Later that same year, December 91, another German couple, Gabor Neugebauer, 21, and Anja Habschied, who was 20, they went missing.
And the last pair.
That was Caroline Clark, 21, and Joanne Walters, 22. They were British backpackers, last seen in April 1992.
So you have these disappearances piling up, but still no bodies, no central location yet.
Exactly. And there was this confusing piece early on with Gibson, one of the first pair. His camera and backpack turned up, but way up north.
North? How far north?
Over 120 kilometers north of Belanglo, near a place called Galston Gorge, found long before any bodies were discovered down south.
Wow. Okay, so what did that suggest to police at the time?
Well, it really threw them, didn't it? It suggested the killer might be moving around a lot, maybe discarding items randomly to confuse things.
Or deliberately laying a false trail.
Possibly. It certainly didn't point towards Belanglo State Forest initially. That only became clear later. That maybe he was ditching these souvenirs far away when he felt pressure building, trying to lead investigators away from his main area.
And that main area, Belanglo, the grim reality of it, that wasn't uncovered until September 1992, right? More than a year after Clark and Walters vanished.
That's correct. And the discovery itself was almost by chance. 2 runners, orienteering, I think, stumbled across a concealed body in the forest.
Just stumbled across it.
Yeah. That body turned out to be Caroline Clark. The police came back the next day, did a more thorough search of the immediate area, and found Joanne Walters nearby.
And the state of the bodies told a story immediately, didn't it? The forensic details were horrific.
They really were. Walters, she'd been stabbed at least 15 times. 9 of those wounds were in her back. The police analysis suggested they were specifically aimed to paralyze her.
Paralysis. That suggests control, not just rage.
Exactly. And Clark, her injuries were, if anything, even more disturbing. She'd been shot 10 times in the head at the burial site itself.
10 times.
Yeah. The conclusion the police drew was chilling. She'd been used for target practice.
Target practice.
So right away, you're seeing this pattern emerge. Not random violence, but something calculated. A killer focused on control, on extending the victim's suffering.
After finding Clark and Walters, the police searched the wider forest, but didn't find anyone else initially.
No, they did an initial sweep, but Belanglo is vast, dense bushland. They thought that was it at the time, but they were tragically mistaken.
How long until the next discovery?
It was over a year later. October 1993, a local man was out gathering firewood in a really remote, thick part of the forest, and he found bones. Human remains.
And that led them to?
That led directly to finding James Gibson and Deborah Everest, the Australian couple who'd vanished way back in 89.
What condition were they in? Similar injuries?
Horrifically similar, yes. Gibson had been stabbed 8 times. One stab had actually cut through his upper spine, again suggesting paralysis. Everest, she'd been savagely beaten. Fractured skull, broken jaw, Knife marks on her forehead as well.
Just brutal. And it didn't stop there?
No. The police launched massive sweeps of the forest then. In November 1993, they found the remaining 3 victims, Simone Schmidl first.
The German backpacker from 91?
Right. At least 8 stab wounds. 2 had severed her spine. And then, just days later, they found Anja Hopshade and Gabor Nugebauer, the other German couple. They were in shallow graves very close to each other.
And Hopshade's discovery was particularly gruesome, wasn't it?
It was. Anja Hopshade had been decapitated, and despite searching extensively, her skull was never, ever found.
Never found. Why? What does that even mean?
Well, it's one of the enduring mysteries. Did the killer keep it as a trophy? Was it lost? We just don't know. Nugebauer, found nearby, had been shot 6 times in the head.
So repeated headshots seem like a signature.
Yes. And perhaps the most chilling finding from the overall forensic analysis across all victims was the evidence that many of them suffered for a long time. They didn't die instantly.
So this wasn't quick. It was prolonged torture.
Prolonged, calculated abuse. That's what the evidence pointed towards.
Okay, so that brings us to the killer's methods, the modus operandi. Once all 7 bodies were found in Belanglo, investigators could finally see the connections.
Definitely. Task Force Air, which was set up to handle this, started piecing together these chilling similarities.
They were the main things linking all these crime scenes.
The location, obviously all dumped deep in remote parts of the forest, but also the way they were covered. It was very specific.
How so?
He or they built a sort of pyramid shape over the bodies using sticks and ferns. The same method each time. It felt ritualistic, like the killer spent considerable time there, wasn't just dumping and running.
Right, a specific burial rite.
Yeah, and then the forensic evidence backed that up. Multiple stab wounds, often to the torso, clear evidence of sexual assault on some victims, and ballistics matched .22 caliber weapons across different sites.
So not just murder, but a ritualized process.
Absolutely. It painted a picture of the killer, or killers.
What kind of profile did the police build from this?
They figured they were looking for someone local, someone who knew Belanglo Forest intimately, probably comfortable in the bush, maybe a hunter, someone with access to a 4-wheel drive vehicle to get into those remote spots.
And firearms, clearly.
Definitely familiar with firearms. And crucially, someone who seemed to derive satisfaction from having complete control over their victims for extended periods. The evidence of campsites found near some of the body locations supported that idea of him spending time there.
So Task Force Air is established in October 93, a huge team. How did they even begin to sift through potential suspects? It must have been overwhelming.
It was a massive data problem, even back then. They had information from all sorts of places, roads and traffic authority records for vehicles, gun licenses, gym memberships, internal police records, just huge amounts of data.
So how do they handle that?
They actually used what was then pretty advanced technology, something called link analysis technology.
Link analysis. Sounds like early big data analysis. What did it do?
Basically, yeah. It allowed them to cross-reference all these different databases automatically. They weren't just looking for, say, known criminals. They could search for intersections of data points that matched the profile.
Like, give us an example.
Okay, so they can input criteria like, show us men who own a .22 caliber rifle, live within a certain radius of Belanglo, and have registered a 4-wheel drive vehicle and maybe popped up in some minor police report years ago.
Ah, I see. Connecting the dots across different, seemingly unrelated data sets.
Exactly. And that was incredibly powerful. It helped them whittle down this enormous pool of potential suspects to a much more manageable shortlist. About 32 names initially who fit that complex profile.
While this tech work was happening behind the scenes, what was the public mood? What were the police saying openly?
Public fear was intense, obviously. Police issued really strong warnings, especially to international backpackers, telling them point blank, do not hitchhike along the Hume Highway. Avoid it completely.
And the reward money went up significantly.
It did, jumped up to $500,000 for information leading to the killer. Huge amount for the time.
But the breakthrough didn't actually come from the computer analysis, did it? It came from a person, an old lead.
That's the amazing part. The crucial break came from revisiting an old case file involving Paul Onions. He was a British backpacker, 24 years old at the time.
And what happened to him?
He'd had this incredibly close call back in January 1990, so 4 years before the main investigation ramped up. He'd accepted a ride near Casula, south of Sydney, from a guy who called himself Bill.
Okay.
They drove south, pulled over near Mittagong, which is less than a kilometer from the edge of Belanglo State Forest, and suddenly, Bill pulls out a revolver and ropes. Says it's a robbery.
Wow. So Onions potentially encountered Milat years earlier.
It seems certain now. Onions managed to bolt, ran for his life into the bush. Bill apparently chased him, even fired shots after him. Miraculously, Onions made it back to the highway, flagged down a passing car driven by a woman named Joanne Barry.
And they reported it.
Yes, straight away. Went to Barrel Police Station and reported the whole attempted abduction and robbery.
So how did this vital report get missed for so long?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. Years later, when Task Force Air was reviewing everything, they found a note about Onion's call. But the actual formal police report from Barrel, it was missing, gone.
Missing, that's problematic.
Hugely. But luckily, one of the constables who took the initial report back in 1990 had meticulously recorded all the key details. The description of Bill, the car, the location in her personal police notebook.
Wow. So her personal note saved the lead.
Absolutely. Incredible piece of diligent police work, really. Without that notebook entry, connecting Merrill might have taken much, much longer or maybe never happened.
So once they had this potential link, Ivan Milat's name comes onto the radar properly. Surveillance starts.
Yep. Surveillance on Milat began in February 1994, and things started falling into place quickly. Joanne Barry, the motorist who rescued Onions, corroborated his story. Then another piece. A girlfriend of a man who worked with Milat came forward. She had information that seemed relevant.
What about the vehicle? The four-wheel drive?
Police confirmed that Milat had owned a silver Nissan Patrol four-wheel drive, matching the description. And crucially, he'd sold it quite recently, shortly after the bodies of Clark and Walters were discovered in '92.
That looks suspicious. Selling the potential vehicle right after the first bodies are found.
Extremely suspicious. It fits the pattern of trying to get rid of incriminating evidence.
So the final piece was getting Paul Onions to identify him.
Yes. They flew Paul Onions back to Australia. On May 5th, 1994, he was shown a photo lineup, and he positively identified Ivan Milat as the man, Bill, who had attacked him 4 years earlier.
That must have sealed it.
It provided the direct link they needed. The arrest went down shortly after May 22nd, 1994. It was a huge operation, around 50 officers involved. And they arrested him initially on the Onions charges.
That's right. The attempted murder, robbery, and false imprisonment of Paul Onions. That gave them the legal grounds to get the search warrant from Milat's house.
And the search of his house? What did they find?
It was damning. They found weapons parts, including parts of a .22 caliber Ruger 1922 rifle, the same type used in several of the murders. They also found a complete .22 rifle that matched ballistics.
Wow. Direct physical evidence?
And more. Foreign currency, clothing belonging to the victims, camping gear, cameras, items directly traceable back to Simone Schmidl, the German couple, Caroline Clark. Multiple victims.
So souvenirs. He kept trophies.
It certainly looked that way. Just undeniable links found right there in his home.
Did they search anywhere else?
Oh, yes. They simultaneously searched the homes of his mother and 5 of his brothers.
5 brothers. And what did those searches turn up? An absolutely staggering amount of weaponry. Across all the family properties searched, they uncovered 24 different firearms and about 250 kilograms of ammunition.
Quarter of a ton of ammo. That's a lot.
It suggested, at the very least, a family environment where firearms were extremely prevalent. Whether it implied more involvement, that was a question mark.
Okay, so Milat is arrested, charged with the 7 murders. The trial happens when?
The trial ran in the NSW Supreme Court from March to July 1996.
And the defense strategy, what did they argue?
They argued mainly lack of direct proof. No eyewitnesses putting Milat at the burial sites, no fingerprints on the bodies. It was all circumstantial, they claimed.
But powerful circumstantial evidence.
Extremely powerful. The defense also tried to point the finger elsewhere, specifically suggesting one of Milat's brothers, Richard, might be responsible, trying to create reasonable doubt.
Did it work?
No. The sheer weight of the evidence, Onion's testimony, the items found in Milat's house, the ballistics matches it, was overwhelming for the jury.
So the verdict?
Guilty. July 27, 1996. Convicted on all 7 counts of murder. He got 7 consecutive life sentences, plus an extra 18 years for the attack on Paul Onions.
And he never confessed.
Never. Maintained his innocence right up until he died in prison from cancer in 2019.
But even with the conviction, the story doesn't feel entirely closed, does it? The source material suggests police believed he might have done more.
That's definitely the feeling you get. Police were pretty open about believing Milat was likely responsible for other unsolved disappearances and murders.
Which ones?
They looked hard at cases with similar MOs, victims disappearing from roadsides, bodies found later in remote areas. Cases like Karen Rowland from 1971, Peter Letcher in 1987, Diane Pinocchio in 1991. The pattern felt disturbingly familiar.
He was also questioned about older cases, too.
Yeah, he was actually ordered to attend coroner's inquest related to 3 young women who disappeared from the Newcastle area way back in 1978 and 79. No charges ever resulted from those, but police clearly suspected a connection.
And then there's the big question. Did he act alone?
That's the major lingering doubt. The sheer scale of it, managing 7 victims, the disposal sites, the brutality, it led to a lot of speculation about whether he had help. An accomplice.
Has there ever been any concrete evidence of an accomplice?
Not concrete proof leading to charges, but the speculation got a huge boost from a pretty dramatic source. Milad's own former lawyer, John Marsden.
What did Marsden say?
On his deathbed, Marsden made a statement claiming that Milat had been assisted. He specifically named Milat's sister, Shirley Swarer, as having helped him in the murders of the 2 British backpackers, Clark and Walters.
Wow. That's a heavy claim from his own lawyer. Was it ever followed up?
It was investigated, but proving it after all that time, especially based on a deathbed statement, was incredibly difficult. No charges were laid against Swarer based on it.
And we still have the mystery of Anja Habshid's missing skull.
Exactly. That detail just hangs there. Why take it? If he was alone, was it just a grotesque trophy? If there was an accomplice, did they take it? It keeps that part of the narrative disturbingly open. Suggests we might not have the full picture.
So looking back, the impact of these murders was just immense, wasn't it? It really did change how people viewed safety and travel in Australia. That carefree hitchhiking culture, gone.
Completely shattered it, especially along the Hume Highway corridor. And the investigation itself, while harrowing, was a landmark case in using that early data analysis tech alongside traditional police work and that crucial eyewitness testimony from Paul Onions.
Right. So maybe the final thought for you, the listener, to take away from this deep dive. Milat never confessed. The case rested heavily on that web of circumstantial evidence, powerful, yes, but circumstantial.
Combine that with the lingering questions. The missing skull, Marsden's claims about an accomplice, the other unsolved cases with similar patterns.
What does all that suggest about the true scope of this tragedy? We know justice was served for the 7 confirmed victims, but the source materials leave you wondering, how many others might there have been? Was the full extent of the horror ever truly uncovered?
It's a chilling question with no easy answer.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.